Was Rhodes Scholar Clinton or country bumpkin McDougal the mastermind of Whitewater? Billary, that's Bill and Hillary, have tried to make it appear that James McDougal cooked up the Whitewater scheme and lured them into it. They claim they were passive investors. Come on, folks. Come on, Billary. You guys can do much better than that if you just put your minds to it, can't you? McDougal is a country bumpkin with average brains and little education, a perfect patsy, and so far he fits the bill just right. Falls right into his niche, doesn't he? He's now broke and failing health and living on $750 a month in a broken-down apartment. Trying to tell me that this is the man who scammed hundreds of millions of dollars, and he has nothing? Bill Clinton is a Rhodes Scholar, a graduate with honors from Georgetown University and a member of the Mensa Society. He's a multi-millionaire who has risen to the most powerful position in the world with the power elite of British Israelism and the Eastern establishment behind him. Doesn't look like it, does it? But they are. See, if they weren't, he wouldn't be where he is today. He's famous, ladies and gentlemen, for his deal-making, which means promising anything he has to get his bills passed. So who do you think scammed who? And if you really think that Bill Clinton is the mastermind, you'd better think again. No king has ever really been the king. The Whitewater hustle came from the power behind William Clinton. William Clinton is the patsy, folks. The scheme was so blatant it's almost difficult to believe, which makes me point to the fact that this was intended to dirty William Clinton so much that he could bring down the presidency and turn the American people against constitutional government. The Clintons put up no money for Whitewater. No money. They had no money. The money came from the real power and the real brains. They invested next to nothing, and even that was borrowed. Their losses are zero, folks. Forget the $68,900 loss they claim. We'll show you a bit later it's entirely a fabrication. And they're telling us McDougal, who used to be a Clinton aide, just gave them a 50% deal in a lucrative land investment for nothing. Just a little favor for a friend? Bullshit. Clinton put up no money, no time, no expertise, not a single contribution. That's not the real world, folks. In a legitimate project, you never take anyone on for free and give them 50% of their business. You put them in because they give you some benefit, or they buy it. But this was not a legitimate project, you see. The whole point of Whitewater and Clinton's and his cronies' other land loan deals was to milk the depositors and taxpayers of millions of dollars, all the while showing a loss or minimal income to the IRS and the public, and to dirty Bill Clinton for what was to come later. The Clintons and their partners, the McDougals, operated Madison Guarantee as their personal piggy bank. They looted depositors' money to pay off Bill Clinton's personal campaign debts and to raise money for his campaign to become president of the United States. After stealing as much money as they could, Clinton and his partners watched as Whitewater went broke. It was the typical Florida swamp deal of the 30s. Nope, it was worse. And don't forget, folks, it didn't just happen here. It happened to savings and loans all across the United States as part of a very careful plan of milking money from the sheeple to finance drugs for arms to bring down this nation and other nations. The Clintons claim they lost $68,900 on Whitewater. If their former partner, James McDougal, and their real estate agent, Chris Wade, are to be believed, they didn't lose a penny. As McDougal put it, I put money into it. Money was owed me. I don't remember them putting anything in. Quote, I could sink it quicker than they could lie about it if I could get in a position so I wouldn't have my head beaten off, unquote, said McDougal. Quote, and Bill knows that, unquote. Why wasn't this so-called loss ever recorded on Bill and Hillary's income tax return? Bill says it was just an oversight. Well, that's very interesting, coming from a man who took a $2 deduction for his used underwear donated to the Salvation Army. Hash marks and all. Hillary Clinton certainly didn't forget to take a $5,133 deduction for interest on a Whitewater loan she didn't even pay. What's more, the Clintons did list a $1,000 capital gain on their taxes for Whitewater. So what happened to the $68,000 they supposedly lost? Why wasn't that on there? Because they knew that that would ring bells. Between 1978 and 1982, Whitewater generated sales of almost $300,000. Where did all that money go, dear sheeple? Even their real estate agent, Chris Wade, can't understand the $68,900 loss. Wade says, quote, "I don't see where they could have lost money," unquote. He also said that Whitewater appeared to generate enough income from land sales to cover its expenses, and that he regularly deposited money from lot payments into Whitewater's account. Hidden profits, laundered money, disappearing cash, fraud and deceit appear to permeate every event in the Whitewater Clinton saga, and in fact, Clinton's whole life. Consider an early sale of a Whitewater lot in 1980. The property in question was their prime lot, 28 acres overlooking the White River. The Clintons and the McDougals supposedly paid $882.61 per acre for this property, 3 times what it was worth, according to one real estate expert, which works out to $24,713.08. But when they sold the lot to real estate agent Chris Wade in 1980, they recorded a $2,000 price for the entire 28 acres on the tax stamps. Wade says he paid $32,000 for the property. He resold it to a Texas couple for about $43,000. By the Clintons' reckoning, the net on the transaction works out to a $22,713.08 loss. But if Wade is telling the truth, and the numbers certainly seem to bear him out more than Billary, the Clintons made a $7,280 profit. Where did that money go? A few years later, Wade was involved in another unusual transaction with the Clintons and McDougals. He wanted to buy Whitewater's 24 remaining lots, but he did not have cash. Quote, "I had an airplane and no money, and they had the lots," unquote, Wade said. He ended up giving the plane to McDougall and assuming $35,000 of Whitewater's $100,000 debt. McDougall sold the plane to Seth Ward, who turned around and sold it back to one of McDougall's shell companies, which in turn borrowed the money from Madison, and McDougall pocketed the proceeds. Billary, let me see if we've got this right. Let me see. Let me just sort of check this out here. Let's talk about this and see how it sounds. Bill and Hillary, you buy a piece of property. The bank lends you more than it's worth. You claim you sold off all the best lots for 10 cents on the dollar and the worst lots for 35 cents on the dollar, while your real estate agent is saying you had $300,000 in sales. Of course, you don't keep track of any of the transactions. You don't record the deeds with the courthouse, and the deeds disappear. You can't find the checks that paid the interest on the loans. Your accounts on the project had possibly $1 million or more run through them over a 10-year period. But let me see. Oh, that's right. You say the money's gone, and you don't have it. How is this possible? No, folks, the numbers don't add up. It doesn't make any sense. That money went somewhere, and Bill, Hillary, and their cronies, and others, unnamed, were the beneficiaries. If you could follow the money, a lot of it you could follow directly to the Drugs for Guns operation run by Ollie North and others, and to the Central Intelligence Agency. Hillary was a key player in Bill's schemes. Hillary Clinton claims she has no knowledge of the savings and loans in McDougal's handling of Whitewater. You're going to love this part, folks. But McDougal says it was always Hillary he contacted to discuss the development, and there are allegations that she had power of attorney, quote, to manage and conduct all matters, unquote, related to Whitewater. She was personally retained by the Savings and Loan as their attorney, represented them before state regulators, and she was on a $2,000 a month retainer to Madison. But she says she has no knowledge of the savings and loans in McDougal's handling of Whitewater. And Santa Claus is coming back tomorrow. Hillary was a senior partner in the biggest, most prestigious law firm in Arkansas. She got the job when Bill became governor, and from that time on, Clinton funneled huge amounts of state legal work through her firm. For example, her firm got much of the lucrative legal work for the issuance of state bonds that benefited many of their clients. They got the legal work from Madison. They represented the regulators, even against some of their own clients, and they handled the legal work for Lassiter's Bond Company. All unethical, all illegal, all criminal, all, in fact, felonies. If you wanted to do business with the state of Arkansas, it was no longer necessary to make payoffs with $100 bills and paper bags. You just went and retained Hillary Clinton. The money you paid the Clintons to do a government deal was no longer an illegal payoff, but a legal bill. Even better, it's protected under attorney-client privilege, and you can't get better than that. The benefits of retaining Hillary were often ends to the most lucrative government deals, such as the Arkansas Development Bond issues. Over the decade Bill was governor, Hillary became a multi-millionaire. And it's no wonder. Little partner in a law firm. And how did Hillary and Bill keep regulators from closing an insolvent savings and loan? Well, let's look at that, folks. The regulators knew that Madison Guarantee Savings and Loan was insolvent as far back as 1985. But Bill and Hillary used their political influence to keep the Madison open, and they succeeded for years. After all, the regulators were appointed by Governor Bill Clinton, who was their boss. They did the right thing to keep their jobs. They backed off. What some people won't do for a piddly-ass little job that don't pay anything, they'll sell their whole country down the drain. All their neighbors and friends, people who invested, had their savings in there. But these regulators didn't care. They wanted to keep their little old stinking job. Probably got paid $20,000 a year, which ain't chump change in this day and age, folks. I hope that doesn't insult too many of you, but it's true. It's absolutely true. I never could figure out why people consent to be the slave of somebody else working for chump change when they have the same brain as everybody else who uses their brain. Who's the boss? Who create companies, who employ other people. How about that? A 1986 audit by the Federal Home Loan Bank Board, FHLBB, portrays Madison as financially reckless, rife with conflicts and on the brink of collapse. As they put it, folks, quote, the problems discussed in this report conflicts of interest, high-risk land developments, poor asset quality, rapid growth, inadequate income and net worth, low liquidity, security speculation, excessive compensation, and poor records and controls constitute a significant threat to the continued existence of the institution, unquote. My. Furthermore, regulators noted that at least $17 million had been loaned out to friends and family at McDougal, who, along with Clinton and his cronies, used Madison as their personal piggy bank. Of course, they all deny any participation or knowledge of this now, and all claim that they don't have the money. Meanwhile, Hillary Clinton was claiming to regulators that the savings and loan was solvent, yet she claimed she never knew anything about the savings and loan.